It's the 23rd of June 2025. This is a brand new edition of Newsfirst's Primetime News, coming to you live and direct from our Newsfirst studios here in Colombo, bringing you tonight's bulletin for the Newsfirst team. I am Jaimal Ratnayaka.
And I am Hashini Pathirana. First up is a look at your headlines for tonight.
Possible closure of the Strait of Hormuz risks disrupting 20% of the world's oil supply. No obstruction to Sri Lanka's oil supply, assures CPC. UN Security Council meets as push for ceasefire in the Middle East intensifies. UN High Commissioner for Human Rights Volker Turk arrives in Sri Lanka. 2 tons of heroin and ice nabbed over the past 5 months, says Minister of Public Security. Nishanka Senadipati provides a statement to the Bribery Commission over probe into transactions of Kehelia Ramukwalla. CID questions former Ministry Secretary Renuka Ekanayaka over dairy cow deal.
On to your top story this evening. If Iran attempts to close the Strait of Hormuz, there is a risk of 20% of the world's oil supply, which passes through the strait, being disrupted. Now, this comes after the Iranian parliament gave the green light to close the strait following an American attack on their nuclear facilities.
Meanwhile, US Secretary of State Marco Rubio has urged China to step in and discuss with Iran, hoping to prevent any attempt to close the Strait of Hormuz. Closing the strait could severely impact the supply of oil to China. What could happen to Sri Lanka if there is such a closure? Here is a detailed report.
Iran and Israel was the latest update. Making headlines is the possible closure of the Strait of Hormuz, which is one of the world's important shipping routes. US Secretary of State Marco Rubio has called on China to prevent Iran from closing the strait, one of the world's most important shipping routes. His comments came after Iran's state-run press TV reported that Parliament had approved a plan to close the strait, but added that the final decision lies with the Supreme National Security Council. Any disruption to the supply of oil would have profound consequences for the economy. China, in particular, is the world's largest buyer of Iranian oil and has a close relationship with Tehran.
Among the world's most important oil checkpoints, the Strait of Hormuz is geostrategically important to the United States and beyond, as the strength of the global economy is heavily dependent on the flow of oil. The strait lies between Oman and Iran and links the Gulf to the north with the Gulf of Oman to the south and the Arabian Sea beyond. It is 33 kilometers wide at its narrowest point, with the shipping lane just 3 kilometers wide. About 1/5 of the world's total oil consumption passes through the strait. Between the start of 2022 and last month, approximately 17.8 million to 20.8 million barrels of crude, condensate and fuels flowed through the strait daily. Members of the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, Saudi Arabia, Iran, the United Arab Emirates, Kuwait and Iraq export most of their crude via the strait, mainly to Asia. What would happen if it was closed? Closing the strait has the advantage of being a means to impose a direct cost on Trump, as it would trigger an oil price spike with a near immediate inflationary effect in the US and across the globe. But it would also be an act of dramatic economic self-harm. Iranian oil uses the same gateway, and shutting Hormuz risks bringing Gulf Arab states, who have been highly critical of the Israeli attack, into the war to safeguard their own interests. In particular, closing the strait would significantly harm China. The world's second largest economy buys almost 90% of Iran's oil exports, which are subject to international sanctions. India imports about 80% of its oil requirement, meaning that disruptions in the Strait of Hormuz will likely impact the price of oil that India purchases. The Strait of Hormuz is also a vital trade route for ships traveling to and from India. Petroleum Minister Hardeep Puri, however, was quick to downplay the impact on India. There are already reports that some supertankers have U-turned in the strategic waterway following the US strikes.
How will this impact Sri Lanka? Will this impact Sri Lanka's fuel supply?
අපිට ඉස්සරහට එන්න තියෙන තෙල් වලින් මැලේසියාව සිංගප්පූරුව පූර්ව සිකා ඉන්දියාව වගේ රට තැන් වලින් තමයි වැඩිපුර එන්නේ. ඊට පස්සේ තායිවාන් වලින් එනවා. සිංගප්පූරුවෙන් තමයි ගොඩක්.
Most of our upcoming fuel shipments are from countries like Malaysia, Singapore and India. A significant portion also comes from Taiwan and Singapore. Additionally, we have 4 other companies, IOC, Sinopec and RM Parks. We've received reports from them and they have confirmed that their suppliers are located outside the war zone. Our main concern is crude oil. However, the next 2 crude oil shipments are fully secured. We have clarified with our suppliers that if a shipment were to load from Fujairah, there could be a problem. But the good news is that these suppliers can bypass that port and source from their other locations to ensure our supply.
ඒකෙන් අපිට සැපයුම් කරන්න.
The escalating conflict has already begun to affect global crude oil prices. As of early this morning, West Texas Intermediate crude oil was trading at $75.99 per barrel, a 2.91% increase. Brent crude oil was recorded at $79.18 per barrel, a 2.82% increase. Even if the supply isn't directly impacted, will the conflict affect local fuel prices?
දැන් තියෙන මිල වැඩිවීම වල හැටි.
Given the current price increases, there will be some impact. However, we've already received the necessary fuel for next month. Typically, our fuel calculations are based on the price of the fuel received this month, which then applies to the following month. We refer to this as the Singapore Platts global market price. There's an increase there, but when we take the average, there won't be a huge immediate impact on next month's prices. However, future decisions will depend on how the conflict progresses beyond this point.
පානය අනුව තමයි ඊළඟ තීන්දුව තීරණ ගන්න වෙන්නේ.
Is Sri Lanka prepared to face the daily changes occurring in the Middle East?
මුළු ලෝකෙටම බලපාන බලපෑමෙන් අහිතකර කොටසින් අපිටද පංගුවක් අනිවාර්ය.
We believe that we will receive our share of the impact that affects the entire world. We are currently taking all necessary measures on our part. We are working with maximum efficiency to quickly secure essential oil stocks and establish the necessary connections with countries and suppliers outside the conflict zone from whom we can obtain petroleum.
ඇති කරගන්න අපි මේ මොහොතේ අවශ්‍ය උපරිම කාර්යක්ෂමතාවයෙන් වැඩ කරමින් ඉන්නවා.
ඔය කලාපේ සාමාන්‍යයෙන් ශාල වශයෙන් යුද්ධ.
If the conflict in that region escalates significantly, our next step will be to obtain crude oil supplies from other countries, and we are already taking the necessary steps for that. We have already started the process of obtaining crude oil samples from the African region directly through governments. We believe we can quickly get supplies from the African region. We need to test them to ensure they are suitable. We are currently trying to establish a deal with Nigeria, and we have already initiated that transaction.
ඉන්නවා මේ වෙලාවේ අපි ඒක ගණදෙනුව ආරම්භ කරලා තියෙන්නේ.
Israeli and US hostilities against Iran are groundless and unjustifiable. Russian president has told Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi in an expression of support. Araghchi, who landed in Moscow on Monday, said earlier that the visit was needed for closer, more precise and more serious consultations with Russia in the wake of the US strikes on the Iranian nuclear facilities during the past weekend.
Russian President Vladimir Putin has told Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi in talks in Moscow that aggression against Iran was groundless. Putin made the comments at the start of Kremlin talks and said Russia is ready to help the Iranian people. Meanwhile, Araghchi thanked Putin for condemning the US strikes on Iran, telling him Russia stood on the right side of history. The Russian leader noted that he was glad to see Araghchi in Moscow, saying that his visit would allow Russia and Iran to discuss these pressing issues and jointly think about a way out of the current situation.
The tensions between the two countries, Iran and Israel, escalated after what is called Operation Rising Lion against Iran's nuclear facilities on the 13th of June. Tehran since then has been responding with a barrage of missiles and drones that hit Israeli cities and towns.
Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, in his first reaction after the US bombed Tehran's 3 key nuclear facilities, said the punishment for the Zionist enemy, referring to Israel, will continue. He said, quote-unquote, the Zionist enemy has made a big mistake, committed a big crime. It must be punished, and it is being punished right now. Khamenei also shared a picture of what looked like airstrikes. There is a skull at the center of the image with a Star of David on its forehead, a symbol on the Israeli flag. Khamenei's comments comes a day after Tehran used its biggest missile capable of carrying the heaviest payload in its attacks on Israel, hours after the US attack. According to the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, they launched at least 40 missiles after the US action, including Khurram-Sahar-4.
President Donald Trump's attack on the Iran's nuclear plants was one of the most violent moments of his 2 terms and America's 46-year showdown with the Islamic Republic. I believe during the past few days we saw about how US and also about how Donald Trump reacted to the situation in the Middle East. And if you go back a little bit to the history, we know about how the US involves in the Middle East during the past few years as well.
President Donald Trump on Sunday said there may be a regime change if Iranian leadership cannot make Iran great again, following strategic US strikes on key Iranian nuclear facilities on Saturday. In a post to Truth Social, the president questioned why there would not be a leadership shift following the devastating blow to the country's nuclear program. Meanwhile, there's growing uncertainty about the president's intentions. Vice President J.D. Vance insisted on Sunday that the US wasn't at war with Iran or seeking to topple its leaders. America's latest plunge back into the Middle East is already having profound political reverberations back home. Top Republicans heaped praise on what they see as Trump's strength, clarity and daring. But despite his deep bond with his base, some influential right-wing influencers fear he could be driving the MAGA movement into a quagmire.
The UN Secretary General told the Security Council that the bombing of Iran's nuclear sites by the United States marks a perilous turn, warning that the region cannot endure yet another cycle of destruction. Antonio Guterres said that there must be an immediate ceasefire and return to serious, sustained negotiations.
2 days ago, in this very chamber, I made a direct appeal: give peace a chance. That call was not heeded. Instead, the bombing of Iranian nuclear facilities by the United States marks a perilous turn in a region that is already reeling. From the outset of the crisis, I have repeatedly condemned any military escalation in the Middle East. The people of the region cannot endure another cycle of destruction. And yet, we now risk descending into a rat hole of retaliation after retaliation. To avoid it, diplomacy must prevail. Civilians must be protected. Safe maritime navigation must be guaranteed. We must act immediately and decisively to halt the fighting and return to serious, sustained negotiations on the Iran nuclear program. We face a stark choice. One path leads to wider war, deeper human suffering, and serious damage to the international order. The other leads to de-escalation, diplomacy, and dialogue. We know which path is right, and I urge this Council and all Member States to act with reason, restraint, and urgency. We cannot and must not give up on peace.
Make no mistake, the cost of inaction would have been catastrophic. A nuclear Iran would have been a death sentence just as much for you as it would have been for us.
The timing, nature and the scale of Iran's proportionate response will be decided by its armed forces. Throughout history, the resilient and united Iranian nation has withstood deeper wounded and faced more vicious enemies, and this time too. It will show its dignity, strength and greatness to the world.
Russia, China and Pakistan have proposed a resolution demanding an immediate and unconditional ceasefire. According to diplomats familiar with the draft circulated on Sunday, while the proposal does not explicitly name the United States or Israel, it condemns the attacks on Iranian nuclear facilities. A vote has not yet been scheduled. What happened today in Iran and Israel? Let's have a look.
The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps has announced the first launch of Khyber multiple warhead ballistic missile during its latest missile attack on Israel. IRNA news agency quoted the IRGC's public relations department as saying that the 21st wave of Operation Sadek 3 began in response to the continued evils of the Zionist Safak regime, with the firing of solid and liquid fuel missiles and combined operations of smart drones. Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz has now said the army is targeting the regime targets and government repression bodies in the heart of Tehran. These include the headquarters of the IRGC's Basij force, the internal security headquarters of the IRGC, Evin prison and the Israel destruction clock in Palestine Square. Hacktivist group Cyber Isnad Front claims it carried out a cyber attack on an Israeli aluminium manufacturer that works with the Israeli army. In a statement on its Telegram account, the group said it obtained information on key military and nuclear sites, which it has added to a list of future targets.
The Sri Lankan embassy in Israel has announced the commencement of registration for Sri Lankan nationals seeking to return home under a special free air travel arrangement provided by the government of India.
Ambassador Nimal Bandara stated that the registration process will be open only for 2 days, today and tomorrow. This initiative is aimed at assisting Sri Lankans currently residing in areas affected by ongoing regional tensions. As part of the arrangement, the Indian government has agreed to allocate a limited number of seats on flights operating from Amman, Jordan to New Delhi, India. In addition, free ground transportation will be provided from Tel Aviv to Amman for those registered to travel. Ambassador Bandara confirmed that no charges will be applied for the Amman-New Delhi flight segment. However, passengers will be required to purchase their own tickets for the final leg of the journey from New Delhi to Colombo. The Sri Lankan embassies in the respective countries will coordinate all travel and logistical arrangements to ensure a smooth and safe repatriation process. Sri Lanka has expressed deep concern over the escalating conflict in the Middle East and has called on all parties involved to take immediate and concrete steps to de-escalate the situation. In an official statement issued by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Foreign Employment and Tourism, the government emphasized the urgent need for all stakeholders to return to dialogue and engage in robust diplomatic efforts aimed at restoring peace and stability in the region. The statement read, quote-unquote, Sri Lanka is gravely concerned about the latest developments in the Middle East. We continue to call upon all parties to take concrete steps to de-escalate the situation.
We had a lot of developments during the past few days regarding the Iran-Israel conflict and also about how US involved in the Middle East conflict as well. So what will happen next? Let's wait and see.
On to news from here at home. UN High Commissioner for Human Rights Volker Turk arrived in Sri Lanka today for an official visit.
This is the first official visit to Sri Lanka by UN High Commissioner for Human Rights since February 2016. During his stay, Turk is expected to meet with the President, Prime Minister and other senior government officials. He is scheduled to hold discussions with religious leaders, civil society representatives, diplomats and officials of the Human Rights Commission. He is also said to visit Kandy, Jaffna and Trincomalee as part of his tour. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs said that during this visit, special attention will be given to strengthening efforts to promote and protect human rights and reconciliation, building on the ongoing productive partnership between the Sri Lankan Office of the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights.
Far from the city noise, under a mango tree, children turn broken desks into a stage. They sing, they dance, they try. No bright lights, no big crowds, just a small school and big dreams. Change is coming. An open-air stage for the Kattaragama Primary School. Gametta, for the people, by the people.
Send us your application with your name, your unique talent, your phone number to Sri Lanka's Got Talent PO Box 100 Ratmalana or WhatsApp us on 076 599 7788.
Welcome back to the news. Minister of Public Security Ananda Vijaypala states that approximately 2 metric tons of narcotics, including ice and heroin, have been seized within the past 5 months. He made these remarks while addressing a media briefing held to raise awareness on International Day Against Drug Abuse and Illicit Trafficking, observed on the 26th of June.
Heroin saha ice madravya
Nearly 2 tons of narcotics, mainly heroin and ice, have been seized over the past 5 months. It is a definitive improvement from missions held in other years, which were done for mere optics. It's a progressive step taken by the police to curtail the supply of drugs in Sri Lanka. An extensive network of missions have been launched as of now. Although we do not show them off, daily missions are underway. Most of those stocks were brought to be distributed within the country from countries like Pakistan and Afghanistan. These are the stocks which have been nabbed through raids.
According to the Ministry of Public Security, narcotics-related raids conducted since September 23, 2024 have led to significant drug seizures. The substances recovered include 1,253 kilograms of heroin, 2,121 kilograms of crystal methamphetamine, commonly known as ice, 12,491 kilograms of cannabis, 22 kilograms of cocaine, around 1.6 million illicit pills.
The financial value of these narcotics amount to around 23 billion rupees. In international trade, these are paid for in US dollars through different channels such as Hawala and Undial. We have identified Pakistan and Afghanistan as the two main countries and other countries in the vicinity that supply narcotics to dealers in Sri Lanka.
The minister further announced that a sum of 950 million rupees has been allocated under the Clean Sri Lanka initiative for the rehabilitation of individuals addicted to narcotic substances.
At present, there are 4 rehabilitation centers in operation, collectively capable of accommodating around 140 individuals. However, there are plans underway to establish at least 1 center in each province by the end of this year. Looking ahead, the long-term objective is to set up rehabilitation facilities in every district across the country. We believe around 400,000 drug addicts reside in the country at present.
IGP Deshabandhu Tennakone informed the Parliamentary Investigative Committee today that the shooting incident at the Valigama Hotel was an operation carried out under Operation Yuktiya. He stated that he did not directly issue orders to the officers involved in the operation. The IGP added that this operation was part of the investigations related to Nadun Chintaka, also known as Harak Kata.
The 3-member committee appointed to investigate the allegations mentioned in the proposal submitted to Parliament regarding the removal of IGP Deshabandhu Tennakone from office reconvened today. Deshabandhu Tennakone presented his evidence before the committee today. The counsel representing Deshabandhu Tennakone questioned him regarding the Valigama Hotel shooting incident, which had been alleged to involve the misuse of authority in his official capacity. Allegations have surfaced that the shooting at a hotel in Valigama was carried out by officers from the Colombo Crimes Division without informing law enforcement authorities in the area based on personal instructions of IGP Deshabandhu Tennakone. 1 officer was killed in the incident.
Harak Kata is a well-known criminal. He had powerful supporters. His drug trafficking activities were centered in the southern province. He even owned a private jet. People lost their lives because of him. There were several others like him in Sri Lanka, including Ganemula Sanjeeva and a few more. He was brought back to Sri Lanka from Madagascar. Certain groups tried to stop his return, but the Secretary of the Ministry of Public Security directly intervened to bring him back. A large number of his followers helped him. For over a year, he was held under the custody of the Police Special Task Force. Until I assumed the position of Inspector General of Police, no investigations had been conducted regarding him.
Was an investigation carried out on Nadun Chintaka after you assumed duties on the 30th of November 2023?
Yes, Your Honour. I commenced an investigation. He was personally involved in drug trafficking. He had a large number of followers who assisted him.
Were you present at the meeting where the decision was made to send a team to Mathura?
Yes, Your Honour. I was present at the meeting. At that time, I was provided with a list of 149 individuals. I instructed Prasanna Dialpis to take legal action against all of them. I ordered the director of CCD to conduct an investigation regarding Harak Kata and entrusted him with this responsibility. Similarly, the former senior officers were entrusted with the responsibility regarding all 149 individuals.
Why did you hand it over to the CCD instead of the CID?
Your Honour, at the time there was word that Harak Kata had been bribing the CID. Up until then, the CID had not taken any action. That is why I didn't hand over the case to the CID. I personally decided to hand over the case to the CCD. I ordered the director of CCD to present a report including all the details of 149 individuals. I also ordered him to enter that data into the airport system.
He was cross-examined on whether the Mathura incident occurred under his direct orders as the IGP.
Was the operation conducted on the 29th and 30th carried out under Operation Yuktiya?
Yes, Your Honour. This was carried out under Operation Yuktiya. I decided that this should be eradicated within 1 year from my appointment. I did not make any order personally on the 29th, so I cannot bear responsibility for instructing junior officers.
Did you know that a team led by OIC Anselm de Silva was heading there?
Your Honour, Anselm de Silva was an individual who had undergone bypass surgery. No one knew he was going for this operation. He wasn't physically fit. He was a heart patient. He could only do regular office work. He even called me to arrange leave. I only later found out he had gone.
Chairman of Avant-Garde Nisanka Senadipati today gave a lengthy statement to the Commission to investigate allegations of bribery or corruption.
Avant-Garde Chairman Nisanka Senadipati appeared before the Commission to investigate allegations of bribery or corruption today after being summoned by the Commission. This investigation concerns the transactions of Kehelia Nabukpalla and his family members. The Bribery Commission stated that today's statement was recorded in relation to allegations that Nabukpalla's daughter, while serving as his private secretary, received payments from Senadipati for consultancy services. The Colombo Magistrates Court today issued a warrant for the arrest and presenting in court of former Member of Parliament Sajin Divas Gunawardena. This warrant was issued since he failed to appear in court for a case filed by the Commissioner General of Inland Revenue regarding non-payment of income tax amounting to 36.9 million rupees. The case, which concerns unpaid income tax from the years 2010 to 2012, was initially filed by the Commissioner General of Inland Revenue in 2023 and was called up again today. Former Secretary to the Ministry of Rural Economy, Renuka Ekanaika, arrived at the CID today. She arrived at the CID premises to provide a statement regarding an ongoing investigation into a deal over the import of dairy cows from Australia between 2012 and 2017. Renuka Ekanaika had initially been asked to appear last Thursday, but she requested it to be postponed until today.
Rehan Jayavikrama, chief organizer for Valigama of the Samagi Janabaravegya, has called on his party to reflect and reform if it hopes to regain public support and win future elections. Speaking on Newsfirst Talk of the Town, Jayavikrama admitted public support for the SJB has declined due to a departure from its founding principles.
Yes, that is a one-word answer I can give you because it's pretty evident. Evident in the way we lead, in the way we connect. All that is clear as day to the people. So for us to grow and for us to move forward, we have to make sure that we listen to the pulse of the people, because it's the people that land us where we want to be, not the other way around. So the minute that we don't start listening to the people, and not just the people, but the minute that we don't listen to our co-voters, where do we end up? We end up in the garbage of history, or the political garbage that history will be so kind looking forward to give us. And should our place be in the bin, or should our place be in the top echelons of power?
News First with the people.
By delaying these state-owned enterprises reforms, we are drifting from a takeoff hope by people.
And you all couldn't join hands to form the presidency in the country.
The presidency,
it's sad,
the national leadership was on a very specific, platform.
We didn't have a single council in our control before we went into the election. Now we have 151 already.
There was a huge argument where the government is actually curtailing the rights of the opposition leader when he wants to question. Now where is parliamentary democracy when it comes to all this?
What is the SLPP doing to make itself, more marketable to the people, or at least to rebuild trust among the people?
So I think, you need the fire. You need the fire in the belly, and you need to take this government on by the horns.
And you are saying, nothing has been proved in court.
But then, no, not a single conviction.
No, there are many things have been proved.
No, I was just responding to what you said.
There are number of politicians
I was just
of
responding
our
to what you said.
has been put into the jail. There are number of politicians. No. I have never changed my position. I am a politician who is known in any media
30 minutes ago,
for
you said
not
nothing has been
changing
proved in
my
court.
position any day.
Face the Nation every Wednesday at 9:30 p.m. on TV1.
Across the nation, talents and dreams are ready to shine. Introducing new faces and extraordinary performances from every corner. We proudly present some of the finest rising stars.
Daphne Crown Season 2.
June 7th onwards, every Saturday and Sunday at 8:30 p.m. only on Shakti TV.
Welcome back to the news. Former Deputy Minister Dr. Harshana Surya Peruma assumed duties as the new Secretary to the Ministry of Finance this afternoon.
Former Finance Ministry Secretary Mahinda Siriwardana and the Ministry of Finance staff extended their well wishes to the new Secretary. The appointment letter of Dr. Harshana Surya Peruma, former Deputy Minister, was handed over to him by the Secretary to the President, Dr. Nadika Sanat Kumarnaika, at the Presidential Secretariat this morning.
The V4's Youth Leadership Forum kicked off its 2025 University edition at the University of Kelaniya, marking the nationwide initiative to empower Sri Lanka's youth under the theme Let's Move Up.
The Gammadha V-Force.
The V4's Youth Leadership Forum, a dynamic one-day event designed to inspire and empower Sri Lanka's next generation of leaders, took place at the University of Kelaniya. The event brought together over 100 university students for a dynamic program focused on leadership development, mentorship and community engagement. A large number of undergraduates participated in the Let's Move Up program, which was held with practical activities. Today's new initiative was carried out under the guidance of Senior Professor Nilanthi De Silva, Vice Chancellor of the University of Kelaniya, and Shevan Daniel, Group Director, Electronic Media Business of the Capital Maharaja Group.
මේ V-Force වැඩ සටහනට සම්බන්ධ වෙලා අපේ
I'm truly glad that the University of Kelaniya was chosen for this initiative. I know very well that we can offer strong support from our side, especially by encouraging students from our university who are already involved with the V-Force program to take part, develop their leadership skills and bring their talents to the forefront through this initiative.
මම සතුටු වෙනවා කැලණිය විශ්වවිද්‍යාලයේ මේ තෝරාගත්ත එක සම්බන්ධයෙන්.
Let's move up.
Let's Move Up is about moving towards the future, and if we are heading there, we need to be able to see that future clearly. But just dreaming about it isn't enough. We have to act, we have to work for it, and we have to make the most of the opportunities we get. That's exactly what Let's Move Up is. It is an opportunity. We truly hope this won't just stop here. While we are happy to offer it to you today, we also look forward to taking it to other universities so more young people across the country can be part of something meaningful.
Renowned speaker Dr. Ranil Sugadadasa along with several other experts in the field also attended the event. A special highlight of the event was the official signing of a new song produced by a student of the University of Kelaniya by Entertainment.
ආවේ කිසිම අත්දැකීමක් ඒ කියන්නේ කිසිම දෙයක් ගැන දන්නේ නැතුව ලොකු දෙයක් ලබා ගත්ත එකෙන් ගොඩක් සතුටුයි.
හිතනවා ඉතින් ජීවිතේ අපේ ඉස්සරහට අපේ ජීවිතේ සාර්ථක කරගන්න අපි මේකේ හොඳ පිටුහලක් ලැබෙයි කියලා. වෙනස්ම විදිහේ අත්දැකීමක් අපේ පෞරුෂ වර්ධනයට ඕන වෙන ගොඩක් දේවල් V-Force එකේ කණ්ඩායම අපිට කියලා දුන්නා. අර දොරෙන් ඇතුළට ආපු අපි නෙමෙයි මෙතන දොරෙන් එළියට ආවේ කියලා බොහොම ආඩම්බරෙන් කියන්න පුළුවන්. ඉතින් අද දවසේ අපි ලීඩර් කෙනෙක් විදියට කොහොමද අපේ ජීවිතේ ඉස්සරහට මුහුණ දෙන්නේ, ගැටලු විසඳගන්නේ, ප්‍රශ්න වලට කොහොමද මුහුණ දෙන්නේ කියලා අපිට හොඳ අවස්ථාවක් හම්බුණා ඒ සම්බන්ධයෙන්. ආදරයෙන් සුබ පතනවා, තෑන්ක් වෙනවා V-Force ටීම් එකටම ඉස්සරහට අනිත් යුනිවර්සිටිස් වලට අනිත් තරුණ ප්‍රජාවටත් මේ වැඩේ දිගටම කරගෙන යන්න ශක්තිය ධෛර්යය ලැබෙන්න කියලා.
The program concluded with entertainment and celebrations led by White FM.
The Gammadha Vivos.
Today marked the start of the annual feast of the Shrine of Our Lady of Madhu. The occasion was marked with the flag hoisting ceremony. The annual feast of the Shrine of Our Lady Madhu commenced today with a flag hoisting ceremony. The Holy Mass for the flag hoisting ceremony was offered by the Bishop of Mana, Bishop Jnanaprakasam Anthony Pillai, the former Bishop of Mana, Emmanuel Fernando, and the administrator of the Shrine of Our Lady of Madhu. Hundreds of devotees participated in this flag hoisting festival. Accordingly, novena prayers will be held for 9 days. The Vesper service is scheduled for the 1st of next month and the Holy Mass will be offered on the 2nd.
Sri Lanka joined global celebrations of United Nations Public Service Day today with a high-level forum in Colombo. The event focused on strengthening dialogue in the public sector to improve service delivery and national recovery. On United Nations Public Service Day, a high-level panel discussion brought together government officials, public sector unions, development partners and civil society actors under the theme Building Bridges, Delivering Better, Advancing Social Dialogue in the Public Sector. The event, organized by the United Nations in partnership with the Ministry of Public Administration, provincial councils and local government, highlighted the critical role of public service in economic recovery and social cohesion and the transformative potential of social dialogue to prevent conflict, strengthen institutions and improve service delivery. UN Resident Coordinator Marc-Andre Franche called for stronger social dialogue to rebuild trust in institutions.
As Sri Lanka tackles its own challenges and in a very complex global setting, we are confronted not only with very important challenges, but also a constant environment of change, including technological. We need a strong, dynamic, and adaptive public service. And this is not easy while the public service is facing many challenges, many strains. And the new government has come to power with a tremendous mandate to strengthen public services, to recover trust in public service and public institutions. And so these issues reflect not only the consequences of the crisis and the challenges with resources, but also a lack of structured and effective mechanisms for dialogue. Social dialogue is not only about minimizing labor conflicts, it's also about building trust. And we know by experience, and we see it around the world, that when countries have these institutionalized mechanisms for dialogue and dispute resolutions, they're not only more stable, but they're also more prosperous, better governed, and more responsive when challenges arise. That's why the United Nations have launched, with our partners here, a new program to support social dialogue that is supporting new approaches that prioritize dialogue over disruption.
The event also included a panel discussion titled Social Dialogue for Peace and Crisis Prevention, implemented by the International Labour Organization or the ILO, UNFPA and the UNESCO. The panel discussion also marked an important step in reaffirming and advancing public service as a purposeful, professional and people-centered, highlighting not only the challenges it faces, but also the lived realities of public officials and the opportunities for innovation and reform.
And that's a wrap of Primetime News for tonight.
Thank you for watching. Good night.